Okay, we are gonna begin Unit 3. So in Unit 3, what we're gonna look at is variables. I'm just gonna show you in this section of Unit 3, 3.1, what variables we'll be working with all year. So the first thing I'm gonna do is find the Introduction to Computer Science project, expand by clicking on the little arrow next to that. Look down for the source code, click the arrow there, expand. Now we have Unit 1 finished. You can see inside here we have the need print and the print class. And this one here we have the microwave and the welcome and different things like that. You also have the vending machine. I don't have one. But then we need Unit 3. So what that means is we're going to click on the source, click on the little package here, and we write Unit 3. Again, it's all lowercase, the number 3, and no space, and I'm finished. So because I'm in Unit 3, I'm going to have to make a class. So I'm going to click on the little C here, and I'm going to call it Unit 3. Look at how I'm spelling it. Uppercase U, uppercase T, no space, just the separation is capitalization. I want to click on the main because the main method is the only one we need, and that main method is what we're going to be using to do all our work in the Unit 3 class. So let's finish. Now let's line things up nicely like we usually do, and I'm going to get rid of the little stub. So in this unit, what we're going to look at is variables. Okay, specifically all we're going to do is we're going to do some declarations of variables. So I'm going to have the two main types, and those are going to be primitives and objects. Primitives are simple data types, and objects are complex data types. So we're going to look at each one of these. So the first one we're going to start off with is primitives. Okay. Now the data type is what type of variable is this. So if you remember that everything in a computer is a number, the way to differentiate between what the number represents is the type. For example, if we have a type that's an integer value, the word for that is int. Now I'm declaring an integer here. So this is called declaring an integer. And there are a couple of things I wanted to know about an integer. First, I wanted to know the size is 4 bytes. Okay. The concept of negative infinity to positive infinity does not exist in a computer. It's a fixed memory size in RAM, random access memory. When we create this integer value, it creates a space that holds 4 bytes, 32 bits. So now we're going to make another one, a double. I'm going to call it cost, and I'm declaring a double here, and its size is 8 bytes. So a double is 8 bytes, and an integer is 4. So you should really learn the integer, and when you get to the double, just double it times 2. So it's 4 goes to 8. The other primitive that we will come across is a Boolean. And the name of the variable is going to be isFull. So one of the things here you see me writing is the type of variable and the name of the variable. The type and the name. The type and the name. These things don't have values set to them yet. We'll pick that up in the next video. But for now, we just want to see what variables we're going to be working with, how they look, and so on. So I'm going to say this is declaring a Boolean, and its size is 1 bit. So a Boolean variable is, and I have an I here, it should be a 1. A Boolean variable is either true or false. Okay, so if I say to you, is visible, which is one of the methods that we use, that's a Boolean because the word is generally is used with Boolean. So not always, but generally. And true or false, there's one bit, obviously. True would be 1 and false 0. They're bits. So 0 and 1. 0 for false, 1 for true. The last one, and this is not all the different types here, and it's supposed to be char. This is simply a character. So we're declaring a char variable. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the size of this right now, so I'm going to only hold you responsible for the first 3 in terms of what size the variable is. So an integer has a maximum size in memory. If you want to figure that out, just do 4 bytes, 32 bits, put a 1 in every spot and figure out what that number is. A double has 8 bytes, which is much bigger. Now, these are the primitives we're going to work with, and we also have some objects as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the object that corresponds with these, and then I'm going to add the string at the very end as a special type of object, one that we're going to be using a lot. So integer, and I'm going to call it the value object because it's the version of this guy up here, just in an object form. So this is declaring an integer object. And then I have double. Look, where is the capitalization? Where is the uppercase? I'm going to call this cost object. And then I'll have a Boolean. These are called wrapper classes. And is full object. And then we also have the character. And we have the character object. Okay. So these are called wrapper classes. Put a little note here. Wrapper classes. So not the string per se. So I'm going to make a string name. So right now we have a number of different types of variables. The first 4 are primitives: int, double, boolean, char. The next 4 are the object representation: integer, double, look at the uppercase, boolean, character. And then, and again, char is the primitive, but character is the object. You actually spell the whole word out. This one, string, is a special type of variable. When I say special, I mean it's one that we're going to use a lot. So I have a little separation here. It's still an object, but it's a special type of object in that it shows up in many, many, many places. You can't write an app without having strings. It's that important. So we have it here as if we're going to study it a little bit more in depth than the others. So because we're going to be working with it a lot, we're going to work with all of these a lot, but this one we're going to work with the most. Now, these are all the variables that we're going to be working with. Doesn't mean that these are all the variables that there are. There are going to be more variables, obviously, but these are the ones that are sufficient for us for the entire year. So all we need to know right now is that these int, double, boolean, you can see they're red, they're special words, they're types of data, they come before the variable name, and this int, just like these words up here, can't be used any other way. I can't call a variable int. Okay? I can't use it any other way but just to say what this guy represents. Okay, so cost now represents a double, and if you're wondering, well, what's a double? I know what an integer is, I know what this boolean is, I know what this is a single letter character. Okay, and I know the true and false for boolean. So what's this cost? Well, this is a decimal value. So let's put a little note here. It's a decimal value. Okay, so it's important to note that if you're working with variables, the type of variable that you're going to use is crucial before you write an app. Okay, so if I'm writing an app with money, I want to use a double because I want the cents, right? Integers don't have decimal portions. Right? Integers like 6, 7, -5, 0, 4. So if I want $4.38, I can't use an integer, I got to use a double. Okay, So we got to figure out what type of variables we need before we write the app. And then when we start writing the app, use the variables accordingly and appropriately. Okay. So this is all we need to do for this section. Variables 3.1. And we'll pick this up again after we are finished with 3.2. But for now, all we need to know is these are some variables that we'll be using all year. That brings us to the end of 3.1.